Good morning, everybody. Ian here with an impromptu live stream about the latest on the Morgan Gibbs White situation with Nottingham Forest. I'm speaking really from a professional more than a Tottenham point of view, being that my field of expertise is employment law. Now, I have no experience whatsoever of sports law, so some of this will be guesstimating as to what's going on and what the legal position might be. I'm also bearing in mind that the Forest chairman, Nicholas Randall, is a King's Counsel leading counsel on employment and sports law. I think that's an advantage for everybody involved because he will have a good idea of what is possible, what is not possible, and how we might get to a resolution of this. So I'm going to talk about what we know, what we speculate, and what we hope, and try and give an impression about what's what. But what we do know is that on Thursday night, a story broke completely out of the blue that Tottenham had agreed to sign Gibbs White from Nottingham Forest Football Club and was coming down on Friday to complete a medical. We would then be looking at a double signing with Kudos, and our transfer window was well and truly underway. By Friday night, the chairman, the owner, Mr. Makinakis, was clearly incandescent and saying, "I've not given permission, the player's not going anywhere, etc., etc." And from here on in, we've had an impasse. Significantly, he said, though, "I'm going to take legal advice." Not I've taken legal advice and Spurs can't do this. I'm going to take legal advice. Now, we know this as a guy that tends to shoot from the hip, engage his mouth and then engage his brain. He's not the most popular of people in football. We know that they've already been dealt with under what were the financial fair play regulations. We saw at the end of last season him publicly berating Nuno, his manager, on the pitch, which was the most atrocious thing I've seen in a long time from a chairman. And then we've had a situation now where maybe not through any fault of their own, but they appear to be taking Crystal Palace's place in the Europa League, and people, not surprisingly, are unhappy with that. But let's look at what the situation is. He is accusing Tottenham of two things: inducing a breach of contract and making an illegal approach for the player. Let's talk about, first of all, about what we know about what's happened. And I've had this confirmed from a couple of sources, that Morgan Gibbs White's agent was touting his client round various football clubs. He made it clear to Tottenham that his player would be available. Tottenham said they were interested. The fee was given of £60 million. Now, That figure didn't come from nowhere. That must have come from the agent. The agent must have said he is available at £60 million. Spurs, we know, appear to have a fair bit of money to spend for the first time in a long while, and said we're invoking that clause. The point, of course, of a release clause is that once you invoke it, the selling club in the contract are obliged to sell at the price that's in the release clause. Otherwise, what purpose does the release clause have at all? However, the player is not obliged to accept a move, and I think we saw this with not Atleti, with Cardoza, who is not coming to Tottenham because he didn't want to come to Tottenham, and the sell-on clause we had, or the buying clause we had in respect of that, became invalid. I'll move away from that. If there's been a breach of contract at all, and we can ask as well, what's the purpose of having a release clause if it's confidential? I mean, what purpose does that serve in any contract? That just, to me, completely illogical. But let's assume, for the sake of this, again, we're speculating on that. Let's say, for the sake of that point, that there is a release clause, but that release clause was confidential. If there was a breach of confidentiality, that breach of confidentiality wasn't by Tottenham Hotspur, it was by the player's agent. If the player's agent has breached confidentiality, then any legal redress that Forest might have would be against the agent. It's not Tottenham's fault if he broke the terms of the contract. The important thing, though, is a simple matter of law, is Tottenham cannot be sued for breaching the contract of employment, that they're a contract of employment that they're simply not party to. Now, the next point then, of course, is Spurs have tapped up the player. In other words, they found out that the player was interested in coming to them, and they should technically have sought the permission of Nottingham Forest before approaching the player. That, for reasons I don't really understand, is still part of football law, because football tapping up has gone on for since time immemorial. There was a time when you could not, and you did not speak to the player until you'd agreed terms with the selling club. That has long gone. But let's say, for the sake of this discussion, Tottenham are in breach of a league rule. There's two things. First of all, that's not something the civil courts will get involved in. The courts would turn around and say, football has processes for dealing with this. Just use your internal football processes. Tottenham may get a fine, they may get a slap on the wrist. It's certainly not enough to prevent the transfer from taking place. The other aspect then is that even if there's been a breach in that respect of confidentiality, or a breach of contract in some shape or form, what's the damages? Because at the end of the day, the courts aren't going to turn around and say, Morgan Gibbs White, you have a contract that allows you to leave for £60 million, but you're not going to leave for £60 million. We require you to stay at Nottingham Forest. The courts simply wouldn't do that, not within their power. And in any event, again, basic principles of English law, courts do not require, will not enforce performance of a contract. The remedy in law is damages. But where then do Forest go with a claim for damages? Your damages claim is surely for £60 million. £60 million is the sellout clause, is the sell-on clause, the release clause. Tottenham are prepared to meet that sell-on clause. So what damages are there? I mean, is Makinakis really going to go to court and say, well, if the release clause hadn't been made public, someone might have bid £70 million? I mean, good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. So much as there's a lot of bluster here, Tottenham have been clever. Tottenham have said absolutely nothing. about this publicly. My understanding is that Tottenham remain relaxed, they remain calm. I am absolutely certain that there are discussions taking place between lawyers, senior officials in the background to try and get this matter resolved. I'm also sure that the Premier League will not be happy about two clubs having a public spat over something like this, and there will be things going on from the Premier League in the background to try and get this situation resolved. I did predict at the weekend this would be resolved by Wednesday. Might not be that quick, but I'm still hoping it would be resolved. The nuclear option, if we can't resolve it, is let's assume that Morgan Gibbs White isn't persuaded to say this isn't too much, this is too much hassle, I'm just going to sign a new contract. I doubt that will happen. Is that Tottenham simply say, come to Tottenham, sign have the medical, sign the player, send Forest what they're due, and I gather from Himothy, who seems to be well connected, that the buyout clause is in two tranches, 60 million over 2 years, 30 million each year. Send Forest the contract papers and 30 million pounds, and say release the registration. That would be the nuclear op, and I hope it won't come to that. But I'm on record now. There, I've said it. I don't think Tottenham should have anything to worry about. They don't think they've got anything to worry about. They'll have their own. Legal advice, much better legal advice than I'm capable of giving. But I'm confident that Morgan Gibbs White will be a Spurs player sooner rather than later. In an interactive thing, I could probably take questions, but 12 and a half minutes, that's probably enough for what I wanted to do now. More updates as we get them. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And no doubt those of you on catch up, let's see if this comes to fruition. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till I die, Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die.